Hey guys, today we're out here in Palm Springs, California. I am in the new Chevrolet Colorado ZR2. We're going to be doing a quick off-road course here, just kind of get an introduction into what this truck is capable of. Tomorrow we're going to be doing some more intense off-roading, but I want to give you guys some first impressions on my thoughts on this truck while we're out here. So you may remember a few weeks ago, we drove the new Trail Boss, and this is the full-on ZR2. We've got 10.7 inches of ground clearance, 33-inch Goodyear Wrangler mud terrain tires, same 2.7 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder, but we have a higher torque output in the ZR2 than we did in the Trail Boss. 430 pound-feet of torque and 310 horsepower. This can tow up to 6,000 pounds. It's got beefy rock sliders, underbody protection. We spent a lot of time in the previous generation ZR2, so really excited to see what type of changes they've made to this current gen, this 2024 model. They've increased suspension travel, adjusted a lot of things with the truck. This 2.7 liter is the only powertrain now. No more diesel and no more naturally aspirated V6. So I think, let's put us into, let's go into Baja mode here and see, got some washboarded sections here. See how these DSSV Multimatic shocks ride. On the street, this is a really comfortable truck. Looks awesome. All right, let's turn traction off, have a little bit of fun. We are in 2 high, getting through some sandy sections here. We might want to switch into 4 high. There we go. This is such a competitive segment now. It's awesome to see all these great new offerings in the mid-sized truck world. Ford with the Ranger Raptor, Toyota, the Tacoma TRD Pro, which is probably finally going to be a competitive offering in terms of drivability and off-road capability. Let's slow down for some rocks here. The ZR2 was always a really nice truck. I think the suspension could have used a little bit of refinement. It was a bit too hard. There wasn't as much travel as I would have liked. I can feel a little bit of a difference already just on some light off-roading here on this trail. It's a bit more compliance over bumps. No idea what tire pressures or anything are set to. Pretty much just kind of handed me the keys to this truck as soon as I got off the airplane. They said, go drive it, have some fun. So here we are. Let's dip down into 2 high now that we're on some of the higher speed sections. This is fun. All right, we've got some cones directing us where to go here. This thing will rally. Unfortunately, we do not have paddle shifters behind the wheel, which I feel like is a bit of an oversight for something like this. Let's see if this loops us around. Back into 2 high. Still in Baja. Not noticing a ton more power, or at least pulling power from the ZR2 versus the Trail Boss that I drove a couple weeks ago, but the engine sounds a bit more throaty, a bit more aggressive. ZR2's always had fantastic road manners, and there's no change here. Feels taut, really well damped and controlled on the street, if just a little bit stiffer than I was expecting. I'm getting a slight hum from those Goodyear all-terrain tires, but overall it's pretty quiet in here, not too bad. Let's do a quick 0 to 60. We'll leave it in 2-wheel drive. thing I love about this 2.7 liter is that it has the torque and responsiveness of a diesel, but in the higher RPMs, it really does pull quite well. I love the view over this hood. We've got some nicer interior materials and bits in the ZR2 over the Trail Boss that we experienced earlier this month. Some leather on the dashboard, contrast stitching, a Bose sound system. Cool, let's hit this one more time. Let's explore some of our drive modes here real quick too. So, we come to a stop. We've got terrain, tow haul, off-road, which is just kind of a general off-road mode, and then normal for street driving, and then we're in Baja now. So let's reduce ESC. Traction is off. This should fully disable everything. Let's put it in 4 high. We'll start there. And then once we get into that higher speed section again, we'll put it back into rear-wheel drive. And like I said, this drive that we're doing today is pretty mild compared to what we're going to be doing tomorrow. I assume we'll be doing some rock crawling, some higher speed desert running, having a bit of fun in the ZR2. There we are. Route us around here. See what the sand is like in 4-wheel drive. Can we control our gears manually? Let's see, we'll go into low. Yeah, we can. Good. I like that. All right, 2-wheel drive. It will hold a gear. That's nice to see. Go down into second here, we can use this little switch selector. Watch out for some of these bigger bumps. Yeah, the ZR2 can boogie. Where this DSSV suspension really comes into play is over these harder impacts, these really big dips. It's doing quite well soaking everything up. Nothing's really phasing this truck. Bit of fun in 2 high here. Bit of a donut. It's nice that Chevrolet lets you turn everything off and have a bit of a hoon in this. All right, that's Baja mode. A little bit more fun, honestly, than the previous gen ZR2. This is quite happy in a higher speed environment. I feel like it's not going to be as soft as the Raptor, and I have not driven the new Tacoma, so I can't comment on that, but pretty impressive, very off-road capable, looks awesome, reasonably priced too. You can get into one of these for in the high 40s, about 47 grand starting price with options. You'll probably be around $60,000. So between 50 to 60 grand for a very capable off-road truck that looks great. It's got nice features, good interior. If you want something a little bit more luxurious and comfortable, you're going to want to swing for the Z71 package, but that doesn't have the off-road chops of this or the Trail Boss. And, you know, we've seen the inside of this. Just some slightly nicer materials. more leather. Get this kind of camo plastic material that looks pretty sharp. That's plastered throughout this interior. Around the climate vents. Some physical controls here. Turn on and off your lane keep assist. Front and rear lockers. Auto stop start. That's nice to see. And you have to go into some deeper menus here for more vehicle settings. But painted in nitro yellow. Oh, it just looks awesome. Got a 5-foot 2-inch bed. These are not the beadlock capable wheels. We do get this flow tie though for a little bit more airflow into that front grille, extra cooling. Good amount of room in the back seats here too. Not too cramped. Bit of a vertical backrest like you see in a lot of these midsize trucks, but overall, I think you could fit your family in here pretty comfortably. Alright, let's find a spot to turn around here. Alright, let's start heading back to the hotel. We'll give you guys some street driving impressions on the way. Some thoughts of what this is like on the road. So we're back into normal drive mode, 2-wheel drive. Honestly, feels pretty similar to the Trail Boss. A little bit more responsive off the line. Let's see how it feels merging onto the highway here. It's a healthy amount of power. I definitely prefer this 2.7 turbo to the old V6 and definitely the diesel. Bit of wind noise at speed, but not too bad considering this is a super tall lifted truck with tons of ground clearance and big off-road tires. Wind noise, tire noise, they seem to balance each other out pretty well. You get some nice standard features in the ZR2. Heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats. It's about 96 degrees Fahrenheit out in the desert today. AC is blowing ice cold, no complaints there. And really nice road manners. For how capable this truck is off-road, it really does hold its own out on main streets. It's not too big, it doesn't feel too unwieldy. It's easy to place, easy to park. That's kind of the best thing about this mid-size truck segment is that I feel like everything else has gotten a little bit too big. These are still very manageable trucks. You don't need to tow a ton. They're not as expensive as everything else out there, and they're still very, very capable, very usable. No adaptive cruise control fitted to this ZR2, though that is an optional extra. Yeah, pretty comfortable here on the road. When I did have the opportunity to take it through a couple turns, I was impressed with kind of the responsiveness of the steering. One thing about the DSSV Multimatic dampers is that they do allow for really good handling on road. They're adaptive depending on your driving situation, what type of terrain you're going over, whether you're on pavement, whether you're on rock, sand, bumpy. I love that we get Google Maps and Google built in, native with this infotainment here. You almost don't need to connect your phone to the ZR2. I'm making a lot of comparisons in this video because the Trail Boss is so fresh in my memory, but one thing we do get with the ZR2 is a telescoping steering wheel. In the Trail Boss, we just had a tilting wheel, so I can get a little bit better of a driving position in this. Still, Trail Boss was quite comfortable for me at 5'10", but I feel like this just gives you a bit more adjustability, and that is nice to have. Power seats for the driver, and I believe manual seats for the passenger. We do get 2-seat memory settings here. I do like the simplicity of this cabin here. It's just so easy to use and live with. When I spent my week with the Trail Boss, which granted doesn't have as many features as a ZR2 does, I just found it so user-friendly. Only things I didn't like were the halogen headlamps. They just didn't have the output that I was expecting from a modern vehicle at night, but that's easily upgradable. And a couple things were hidden in the menu, but nothing major. If you do find yourself doing a lot of off-roading, or you just kind of want the coolest looking Colorado, this is a pretty badass option. And of course, you can always upgrade to the ZR2 Bison and get the 35-inch tires, which is pretty amazing. They stretch the wheelbase, widen the track of this new ZR2 just so that you can fit those 35s under, and it looks incredible. It's the only midsize truck available with 35-inch tires. Just coming into town here, really surprised at how quiet this is to cruise in. Suspension, again, I do think it is a little bit stiff. I wouldn't mind if they tune these dampers to be a bit softer, even on the off-road course. And we never bottomed out. We never hit the limits of travel, and maybe that's why they are a little bit stiffer, so they can take on those impacts. But on the street, I wouldn't mind just a little bit more ride comfort out of this truck. Again, it's not bouncy, it's not uncomfortable, but you look at this thing and you kind of want that Raptor softness. You want to just float over everything, and it doesn't quite get there. It's well composed, but it almost kind of rides a little bit like a sports car, which I guess gives you better handling, and it's a bit of a trade-off. It's always tough to get the tow rating out of these mid-sized trucks and ride comfort, so you're always making sacrifices. Engine calibration here is excellent. I am, again, a big fan of this 2.7 liter. Really smooth off the line, makes some cool noises. A little bit of turbo whistle on light throttle. It sounds cool. I'm not necessarily mad about the influx of these turbocharged 4 cylinders. It's not a bad thing in my opinion. This has about 3 inches of extra track width than the Z71 package Colorado, and you feel it. With that extra ride height, you're going to want that extra stability, and this feels pretty confident around a corner, on and off road. Alright guys, well that's going to be a quick drive on and off road, getting some first impressions on a Chevy Colorado ZR2. Pretty impressed with this truck. If you spec one of these as just kind of a stripper base spec, it's pretty well equipped. If you forego some of the options, you can get into one of these for about 10 grand less than a Ranger Raptor. Granted, you're missing out on a few features, but the core stuff is here. And if you don't need the locking diffs and all the off-road stuff, you can still get a very, very capable truck in the Trail Boss, and it looks almost as good in my opinion. Doesn't quite have the off-road aggressive mud terrain tires, but it's got the wider body, the extra fender flares, a little bit extra ground clearance too, but the ZR2 I think is a really good starting point for an off-road build if you're doing overlanding, back roads, camping, adventure stuff, or you just want a truck to have a little bit of fun in. It's got excellent road manners. You're not really making any sacrifices here versus other Colorado models in terms of drivability and livability, and that's one thing I really like about these new trucks from Chevrolet. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to park this and probably take out a Silverado here. Great. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.